it go away?
No, it did. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Oh, she first? She's
Yes.
the only one? Okay, we'll wait till she's done. She's like, she's done, and then I can talk to her. Yeah, while she's there. Okay, after she's done, we'll go get it.
Okay.
We're good. We can go.
So shall I?
Yeah.
We can go? All right. Good evening and welcome to the Stearns County Board of Adjustments public hearing for the month of April. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I'll begin this evening by an explanation of in response to the COVID-19 and pursuant to Minnesota Statute Chapter 12 relating to the emergency management, Governor Walz has declared a state of emergency. In response to the state of emergency and in accordance with the Minnesota Statute Chapter 13D.021, Board of Adjustments members and the applicants may participate by telephone or other electronic means. The meeting is being broadcast live over the county's website. The meeting is being held in the Stearns County Administrative Center with members remotely accessing the meeting.
They would not give us audio. I don't know if we're on. Yellow.
We have a couple of announcements to make before the beginning of the meeting. If we ask that if you are on your computer and or on the phone speaking, that you turn off sound that is going behind you so that there's not distraction or interruption of the meeting. We'll give a brief overview of our proceedings this evening. The members of the Board of Adjustment are appointed by the County Board of Commissioners with one member from each of the 5 commissioner districts, 1 member at large, and 1 member appointed by the Planning Commission. This evening, I will read the variance request and open the public hearing. When I am reading the request, we ask that if you are the applicant watching remotely, that you then come online with us. And I will ask the applicant or the representative to state their name and address for the record before they begin to speak. I'll then ask the Environmental Services staff to provide a brief overview of the request, the staff report, and any correspondence that was received during the request. Following that, the applicant or their representative will be able to provide input, corrections, concerns, comments. Once the applicant and or their representative have provided their testimony, the board will discuss the request and ask questions of staff or the applicant. Upon completion of the board questions, then I will ask if there is anyone that has called in or anyone that has sent in written information for this meeting. If there is, we will hear that information at that time, recording the name and the address of the person providing the information. When all the testimony is completed, I'll ask the board members for a motion to close the public hearing. Once the motion has passed to close the public hearing, there will be no further input from anyone related to the request other than the members of the board, unless there is a question that the board members need clarification for. The board will review and discuss the findings of fact. The findings are a series of questions that the board is required to answer based on Minnesota statute and the requirements of our ordinance. Based upon the answers to those questions, the board will either grant or deny the variance request. All questions must be answered in the affirmative by the board in order to approve the request. Once the findings are completed, there will be a motion to approve or deny the request based upon those findings. And board members, this evening, we will conduct the meeting in a similar manner that we did the past meeting, in which for findings of fact, I will take input on whether the answer to the question is yes or no, and then we'll ask if anyone else has input, and then I'll ask if anyone disagrees with the statement. If they do, please raise your hand. We're able to see you here on the screen, and then we'll know to call on you and get your input. We will do a roll call vote for the final motion, so please be prepared to enter your vote for the final motion to either approve or deny a variance. Our first item for this evening is to consider MDICKY, Belgrade, Minnesota, from sections 6.7.5D and 6.2.1C of the Stearns County Land Use and Zoning Ordinance 439 to leave as constructed a new residential dwelling less than 700 feet from a registered animal feedlot where cumulative attached garage floor area exceeds the area of the outside dimensions of the principal residential structure. The said ordinance requires a 700-foot setback to an animal feedlot that is registered for 100 animal units or more, and the total cumulative attached garage floor area shall not exceed the area of the outside dimensions of the principal residence structure. The affected property is 5 acres east of the east half of the south quarter of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter, section 25, tract 125, range 34 west, Lake George Township, and the property address is 27279 County Road 175, Belgrade, Minnesota. And is our applicant with us this evening? Okay, we're checking for the applicant.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. All right, if you can state your name and your address, and then we'll go to the staff report.
Lori Emdick at 27279 County Road 175, Belgrade, Minnesota, 56312.
Okay, welcome this evening. And we'll get a staff report first, and then we will come back to you for your comments. Staff report?
Thank you, Madam Chair and the board. So the property for this request is currently 5 acres in section 25 of Lake George Township and is zoned A40, but due to the parcel size, the applicable zoning district is R10. Road access to the property is from County Road 175 to the east. In 2018, applicants received a permit to construct a 48-foot by 72-foot residential accessory structure. They are currently utilizing 1,536 square feet of the structure as a residence, with the remaining 1,920 square feet of the structure as a shed/attached garage. The applicant stated in their variance application they want to continue living in the shed until they're able to place a dwelling unit outside the feedlot setback on the property. The proposed setback of 686 feet is a 2% deviation from the required 700-foot residential dwelling setback. In 2016, the feedlot to the south was registered for 97.5 animal units consisting of dairy heifers and dairy calves, and was originally registered on February 8, 2000 for 105 animal units consisting of dairy cattle. There are 6 existing registered feedlots within 1 mile of this constructed dwelling. The surrounding parcels are zoned A40 except for the parcels on the east side of County Road 175, which are zoned A80. The alternative is to abandon the shed as a residential dwelling. And the Lake George Township Soft River Watershed District, the Observer, Cold Spring Record, and property owners within 500 feet have been notified of this request. And Bonnie, I did also receive correspondence, if you'd like me to read that in later.
Yes. Yes, I believe this would be the proper time to read that into the record before the applicant has a chance to speak.
So we received correspondence from Neil and Mary Spanier, and they say, we strongly disagree and they should not be granted for them. They knew all the regulations and restrictions prior to building. They just ignored all the rules in place. Rules are there for a reason. They also seem to have built too close to the road. Please check this out. And that is all the correspondence we have received.
Okay.
And I'd ask the board too, was anybody not able to get out to the property?
I was not able to be out that's property.
Okay, thank you. And applicant, if you'd like to share with us your thoughts. Is the applicant there?
No. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. We built this as a shed, and then it was going to have a inside warm part on the end of the shed, and that's the part we moved into. I actually forgot that I wasn't supposed to be able to move in there. And so we owned it or we had built the shed or whatever, and then it was like the next spring, both eyeing a lot of stuff. So that is our reason for wanting to hold off on building the house. But yes, it was my mistake for moving into the shed part. And it is a shed. It's like, you know, there's the above garage doors and everything in it. I can't hear them now.
Thank you for your comments. All right. Board members, questions for either staff or the applicant?
I have one for staff or for applicant. At what point do you anticipate building the home? And I believe also on this request was the shed is bigger than the anticipated house at this time. Are you planning to build a larger house to match the square footage or leave it as is?
The green square is actually where we're planning our house to be. We're living in the end of the blue square there. And we're hoping basically to hold off, like, even if we, well, at least probably 2 to 5 years when hopefully I can be retired and deal with building a house.
And just for clarification, the size of the shed in comparison to the house will no longer matter once it's not attached, I believe.
Correct. It'll be just a shed.
That's how I understood it too. This is Jill DeLong. It sounds like the concern is that because they're living in the shed, living quarters are smaller than the attached headquarters. So if they are no longer living attached to that shed, then it's not anymore.
That would be correct. Are there other board members that have questions for either the staff or applicant?
This is Jill DeLong. I have a question for the. I saw that there was an RV next to the shed. It's not on this aerial, but it was there when I visited the. Is that? I guess I have a question for. If they are able to in the RV, does that affect this variance request at all?
That was breaking up. I didn't hear you.
If I can restate, I think what Jill was asking was if you moved into the RV, is this what you were asking, Jill? If they moved into the RV temporarily, that would mute the problem with the size of the living space to the machine shed. Is that correct?
Right. If the applicant is able to live in the RV, does that negate the variance necessity?
And could staff maybe comment on that, please?
I'd not be sure. I'd ask Angie or Dave if they could answer.
Madam Chair, Angie Berg.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I think that we could ask the applicant if that's an option. I haven't been to the property, so I don't know if it's an RV that's winter able to be lived in the winter time. That's usually whether or not it's winter. And yes, we can permit recreational vehicles as a residential unit. They do have to meet all the requirements. And so that they have to meet the feedlot setback as well. Not sure which side of the blue square it's located on. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and maybe we can have the applicant comment on that.
Okay. We had actually looked at that option before doing this, but the feedlot or that motorhome is just. I mean, it's not for the winter. It's not a four-season motorhome. So that's why we didn't do that option. It's just an old motorhome. It's not,
Okay, yes, we understand. Are there other questions from board members? Hearing no other questions, is there anyone that is on the phone or on the premises to speak to this as part of the audience? Okay. We are not aware of anyone. Yes?
Chair, Dennis Gregory, I have a question and a question and a comment. So first, there's someone is breathing into their microphone, and it's very hard to hear people's conversation. So maybe we could all continue to mute. That would be fantastic. My question is for staff. If we were to grant the variance, can we grant it for a specific length of time?
Could staff maybe comment on that if we can set a time limit on the variance?
Madam Chair, Angie Berg, one of our staff members, Brian Krippner, was working with MDEX on a compliance agreement, which they did enter into. I think that was discussed in the staff report. And so technically, yes, the Board of Adjustment could grant a variance with time associated to it. We would just have to take a look at the compliance agreement and see if that needed to be amended to require discontinuance of the use of that part of the accessory structure at the time that the variance would expire, if you will. It's not typical, but I think in this case, because we already have a compliance agreement, it could be an option.
Thank you. Are there other board members that have other questions? Otherwise, I'll close the public hearing.
Another question, Dennis Gregory. Unless I missed it, I don't think, is there a compliance agreement in our packet? And if there's not, could you just please give us a little bit of an overview of what that compliance agreement contains?
Staff, could you speak to the compliance agreement?
Madam Chair, Angie Berg, Dennis and Board of Adjustment members don't have it in front of me because we're all on our computers. I could pull it up. You give me a minute. Basically, we gave Index the option to discontinue the use of that part of the accessory structure, apply for a variance, and then we also gave them a time frame in which they would need to basically build their residential structure. So let me pull that up. If you have any other questions, I can chime back in when I have that answer.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and then wait for her to come back with that information. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
So moved, Dennis Gregory.
All right, thank you, Dennis. And a second?
Mike.
Second from Mike. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Then we have closed the public hearing. Then we'll just wait a moment for Angie to find that information for us.
You are now the presenter.
Okay, Madam Chair, I do have that information. I'll hear that into the record.
Yes.
Okay, so the terms of the compliance agreement are option 1 is by April 1st, 2020, apply for a variance, which they are doing right now. If the variance is denied, the residential accessory structure will be required to be abandoned as a dwelling within the denial of variance. The second option was to residential accessory structure as a dwelling, bringing the property back into compliance with ordinance no later than June 1st, 2020, or prior to any sale of property, whichever comes first. And that would conclude the set forth in the compliance agreement. And the reason they needed to apply for the compliance, the ordinance indicates that if there's a current violation, it has to be corrected in order to apply for a permit or a variance. And in this situation, they needed to do both kind of at the same time. They were into that agreement to work on compliance.
At least on my end, Angie is cutting out quite a bit.
Okay, I believe I heard her cutting out too. I was able to get the gist of what she was saying, but I do agree she was cutting out. And if board members, if we all could really work hard at putting ourselves on mute when we are not speaking, because we're hearing a lot of background noise from, I think, different people, even just moving, sitting in front of your computers. So if there's...
Sorry, this is Jill DeLong. Did we give the option for anyone else to speak up? I don't remember if we asked the public to speak up.
Yes, we did. Before I closed the public hearing, we asked if there was anyone waiting out in the hallway or in another room or on the phone.
Okay, because it looks like there is a user. I just wanted to be sure.
Okay, I believe we're ready for findings of fact. And as we did the other evening, after I read each findings of fact, if someone could state their thoughts on it, and then I will ask if other board members are in agreement with that, or if there's anyone else that disagrees or would like to add additional comments to the written record. for that particular item. Number 1, is the proposed use allowed in the zoning, I should clarify that this is for both the setback from the feedlot and for the cumulative square footage exceeding what is in the residence for the garage area. Number 1, is the proposed use allowed in the zoning district in which the subject property is located? Yes or no?
Mike Kane, R10 allows new construction and accessory structures, so it is allowed.
Mike has voted yes on that one. Is there anyone that does not agree with Mike for number 1? Hearing none, I will mark that as a unanimous yes. Number 2, is the variance in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls? Yes or no?
Madam Chair, this is Jill Blong. Question for staff. Could I get a little bit more understanding on the purposes of why we would want an attached garage to be no larger than the attached residential structure, please?
Madam Chair, Jill, this is Angie Berg. I can tackle that. So in the residential districts, the idea is that the sizes of the attached garage are not disproportional to the residential dwelling, so that you see more house than you do see attached garage. That was the intent. I would say that the way the ordinance is written is that even in this agricultural district that MDECs have, their lot is considered to be residential due to its size. We have talked about when your underlying zoning is ag, as it is in this case, should the ordinance be written differently so that we're not as concerned about that or not have the same requirement. But that is not in effect at this point. But just to kind of give you a little background about how we've been talking about that.
Okay, is there anyone that is ready then to comment on number 2?
Question for staff. Dave Cameron.
Yes, go ahead, Dave.
My question would be if this was a shoust, or it's they have a shoust I see in the country where a big shed and they have a living quarters in one end, and I'm sure that the shed is bigger than the quarters. Does that apply to them also?
I would think so. Staff was.
Madam Chair, Dave, yes, it does apply. In tech.
Well, then there's quite I've seen big shops on the side and they live in one end. So there's probably a lot more that are out of compliance that they have seen.
Madam Chair, Dave, so in those situations, the parcel is probably larger than 10 acres in size, therefore the same rule doesn't apply. You don't have that same square footage rule when you're in an ag district and you have more acreage than what is required for a residential district.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Jill, the staff. So are there other R10 lots surrounding this particular lot, or is it the only one that's an R10 and the others are all A40s or larger than R10s?
Madam Chair, I don't know if Shelby can chime in on that one. You have to look at a map and research that.
Madam Chair and the board, when I looked at the zoning all around, I just looked at how it's actually zoned and not the applicable zoning. But when you do look at the aerials, there are smaller parcels in the area that may have the same applicable zoning.
Thank you. So do we have anyone that is ready to give us an answer or their opinion for number 2?
Madam Chair, this is Jill DeLong. I believe the variance will be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls, especially if the variance granted has a time limit requiring that the actual non-attached residential structure is built within X number of years. Because my understanding of what the official controls are or related ordinances is to maintain a residential feel and not an industrial feel of an area. And I think that if we have a time limit or definition to it, it will still be within the intent of the controls because it will only be temporary.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone that disagrees with that determination? Hearing none, I will mark number 2 as a unanimous yes. Number 3, is the variance request consistent with the comprehensive plan? And please state the goal or objective that it does or does not meet.
Madam Chair, Mike Kane, under growth and development, goal number 6, objective 1, provide diversity of housing, prices and styles, meeting the needs of the residents, different ages and lifestyle, I think would be the appropriate one.
Thank you. Is there anyone that disagrees with Mike's thoughts on number 3? Hearing none, I will mark it as a unanimous yes. Number 4, is the property owner proposing to use the property in a reasonable manner not permitted by any official controls?
Madam Chair, this is Jill DeLong. The property owner proposes to use an R10 residential area as a place to reside, so I believe that yes, it is a reasonable manner.
Thank you. Is there anyone that disagrees with Jill's determination for number 4? Hearing none, I'll mark that as a unanimous yes. Number 5, is the plight of the landowner due to circumstances unique to the property not created by the landowner?
Long. I believe that the plight of the landowner is due to their own circumstances. They sold their residential home and moved into this shed. It sounds like it was a situation that they did create themselves.
And if I could just interject, if we could be remembered to look at on our copies of findings of fact, and I might just read those quickly, so that since this is an after the fact, just to make sure that we have all of these applicable to every question. Did the applicant act in good faith and attempt to comply with the ordinance? Did the applicant make a substantial investment? Is the construction completed? Are the similar structures in the area? And are the county's benefits outweighed by the applicant's burden if the applicant were required to comply with the ordinance? So just so that we take all of those into consideration. So we have a no then for number 5, if I'm correct on your thoughts on that, Joe?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Do I have anyone that disagrees with the determination of no for number 5? Dave, go ahead. Dave, you're muted.
No, I unmute. Oh, it did.
You're muted. Could you unmute so we can hear your comments? Go ahead.
It said, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay. I think that in this case, there probably was a circumstance that I don't think the shed was originally built to be inhabited, and because of probably circumstances maybe beyond their control of selling their house or financially, they had to make that move. And I don't know if we should, in this case, hold them totally against. I mean, there are other posts in that same area that have big buildings.
You're breaking up, Dave.
I don't know why. You hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think that there are other circumstances in that area the same, and I don't think that we should hold this one accountable to, it's a 2% deviation, and if they do have a sunset on the length of the variance, I don't think that by chasing them out is going to help anything.
All right. Since we have a yes and a no so far, I'll do a roll call on this one so that we can finish up with number 5. Dennis? Dennis, could you unmute?
For some reason, mine keeps re-muting itself. Anyway, my question for the staff is related to the exact wording of this question. It says the plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property. It doesn't say unique to the applicant. And so what Dave just described is a situation unique to the applicant. And I'm wondering if we could get some clarification on this question.
Hey, is there a staff member that would like to address that?
Madam Chair, this is Becky, Again, Water Resources Division Supervisor. It is, as it reads in the findings of fact, it is based on the property, unique to the property.
Okay, thank you. I just have a question for staff. If at this point in time they were to increase the size of the living quarters by, by 200 square feet or roughly, would that solve the situation?
Madam Chair, this is Becky. I'm not quite sure if I understand your question. You're asking if they increase the square footage of the shed or the house? Oh, of the living space within the house. Okay, and that is because of the one aspect of the variance. I believe, let's see here.
Madam Chair, if Angie could chime in on the square footage, they'd still be here for at least the feedlot setback, even if they adjust the square footage of the house.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I believe that the applicants built this accessory structure as well. So the property in my mind is that they built this in its current location, so it was the applicant. It didn't create to the applicant owning it.
All right. we ready for a roll call on number 5? Any other comments before we do a roll call? All right, begin a roll call then for number 5. I so far have a no for Jill and a yes for Dave. All right, Dennis?
No.
Mike?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
Sean? Not here, all right.
Looks like he's
And
here, but not, he's muted.
are you there, Sean? Hey, Sean, are you there? Sean?
Go ahead.
Hey, Sean? Sean, are you there?
We can hear you typing, Sean.
Why can you not hear me then?
Now we can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me?
Now.
Oh my God, I've been here for like an hour trying to get you to hear me.
All right. So on number 5, are you a yes or a no on number 5?
I'm a no on 5. No.
And I'm really torn on this. But I think if I look up at the top and I see the one that says are the county's benefits outweighed by the applicant's burden, I'm going to say yes on this one. Number 6, will the variance maintain the essential character of the locality, yes or no?
Dennis Gregory, I don't think it'll change the character of locality given the other residences in the area.
All right, is there anyone that disagrees with Dennis's evaluation for number 6? Hearing none, we'll mark that as a unanimous yes. And number 7, the need for the variance involves more than economic considerations, yes or no?
Madam Chair, this is Jill Long. I believe that economic considerations were included in this, but it also is, they'd have to put in the time, energy, money, build another residence, which is significant. So it's not just, so yes, it is more than economic considerations.
Is there anyone that disagrees with Jill's determination for number 7? Hearing none, I mark it as a unanimous yes, and we are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, I would make a motion that we approve a variance for the applicant to leave as constructed a new residential dwelling, which is 686 feet from the animal feedlot, and a cumulative attached garage area that exceeds the area of the outside dimension of the principal residential structure, and that we grant that variance for 3 years.
Is there a second or further discussion on this motion?
Dave Cameron, staff.
Yes, Dave?
Okay, my question would be is, for some reason, if this into a tailspin, possible for them to come back in a time period?
Well, I would guess that any applicant is able to come and request an extension of their application.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Then that's okay.
All right, so do I have a second on our motion?
Board member Gregory, could you repeat, was there any time limit required on this variance? I missed that part.
I can,
Yes,
I can speak to that. He said a 3-year limit.
Is that, Chair Jill, can we ask the applicant if 3 years is reasonable for them?
Right, applicant, are you there? We'll wait just a moment. She's trying to speak and we're not hearing her, so we'll just wait a moment for them to get that technical problem.
We could have her give her a thumbs up if she's okay with 3 years.
All right, the applicant's comments would be she'd prefer 5 years. She had indicated 3 to 5 years, but would prefer 5. All right, I believe she's there now. Are you, applicant, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes. The question from the board is there's a motion on the table to grant the application with the stipulation that it would run for 3 years. And we just wanted to hear your comments on that 3-year stipulation.
3 years would more than likely be enough, but with what's going on in the world today and stuff, I kind of would prefer it to be 5, just for a safety net in case everything that's happening, it puts kind of a halt on building and everything.
Madam Chair, in the interest of getting a second and moving along, I would amend my motion to 4 years.
All right,
I would second that.
has been amended and seconded. And was that seconded by
Right. Yes.
All right. All in favor? I will do a roll call on this. So Dennis, you are a yes. Mike seconded, and so it would be a yes. Jill,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Jake,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. Being a unanimous yes, the motion carries. So applicant, if you have more questions about this, you can talk to staff via the phone during business hours.
Thank you.
We're ready to move on to item number 2. Item number 2 is to consider a request from H&R Trailers LLC, Holding Ford, Minnesota, from Section 6.7.5D of the Stearns County Land Use and Zoning Ordinance 439 to construct a new residential dwelling less than 700 feet from a registered animal feedlot. The said ordinance requires a 700-foot setback to an animal feedlot that is registered for 10 animal units or more. The affected property is 5 acres in the south of the 466.69 feet of the west 466.69 feet of the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter. The Section 7, Track 126 North, Range 29 West of Brockway Township. The property address is 42802 County Road 3, Holdingford, Minnesota. And is our applicant with us?
Okay, can you guys hear me in this room?
Yes, we can.
I can't hear them because I'm not. You're gonna sit right here? Janet, let's fix the audio. No. Might have been my daughter.
All right, if the applicant could state the name and address.
Okay. You just speak right to them. Can you hear?
We can hear. Yes, applicant, please state your name and address for us.
Lionel Sabania, 13888 River Street, Holdingford, Minnesota.
Thank you.
340.
Thank you. And if staff could give us an overview of this application.
Madam Chair and the board, the property for this request is currently 5.7 in Brockway Township. The portion of the parcel with the proposed and existing mobile homes is zoned residential manufactured home, and the remaining area of the parcel is zoned A40. Property is from the west on County Road 3. The applicant stated in their variance application that they would like to place a new residential dwelling unit, a mobile home, on the property. The proposed setback of 194 feet is a 44% deviation from the required 700-foot residential dwelling setback. In 2018, the feedlot to the south was registered for 33.511 animal units, consisting of beef, cattle, and swine, and was originally registered on February 7, 2000. In 2015, the feedlot to the southeast was registered for 155 animal units, consisting of broiler chickens, and was originally registered on December 7, 2012. There are 8 existing registered feedlots located within 1 mile of this proposed dwelling, and the surrounding parcels are all zoned A40. The alternatives would be to construct a residential dwelling at the greatest deviation possible from a feedlot, since it is not possible to adhere to the Stearns County Ordinance 700-foot setback from a feedlot to a residential dwelling on this parcel, or to not construct a new residential dwelling on this parcel. The Brockway Township, Albany Enterprise, Cold Spring Record, and property owners within 500 feet have been notified of this request. We've received 2 correspondence. The first one is from Dwayne Kremers, and he states that I do not want another trailer placed on this land next to our property. The second correspondence is from Kevin and Deb Trout, and they say, we are the adjoining property with the feedlot to the south. I'd like to request that the requester build a permanent privacy fence along the entire adjoining line, minimum height of 8 feet. We believe this will also help with smells coming from both sides. And we'd ask if any of the board members were not able to visit this property.
All right, thank you, staff, for your comments. And if the applicant now could share with us their comments.
I don't know. I keep the place really clean and organized. It used to be messy, but I changed everything around there. And the trailer I want to put in is farthest to the north, which is further away than all the other ones. It's the really only place I can put one. And I only have room for one more, so I just wanted to put it in there, and I didn't think it would cause much trouble. It's
Okay.
income housing for people, so that'd help out a little bit there.
All right, thank you. And can you comment on the letter that they were talking about, the privacy fence, what your thoughts are on that?
Well, I was thinking, I wanted to take the trees out and put shrubs up that grow in between the 2 places, so, that grow tall and fast. And I started on it last year, and then it was raining so much I wasn't able to finish, but this year I'm going to finish it. If I get the request or not, I'm still going to put it through there.
All right, thank you. Okay, are there members of the board that have questions for either staff or the applicant at this time?
Madam Chair,
Dennis,
Long?
Jill, if you could speak first, and then Dennis, I believe, following.
Yes, a question for both applicant and staff. Can we have a little bit more information on the history of this property? When I was there, it looked like the trailers were of varying ages. So they've been there different times. What is the history of this property and the homes built on relative to the other property adjoining it?
Right, if staff possibly could address that question, if they have that information.
Madam Chair, Angie Berg, I can jump in. Lionel's going to be able to probably answer this better than staff. This property was an existing mobile home park. County adopted zoning in the year 2000. Therefore, we zoned it manufactured home park district. So it is zoned appropriately. And as far as when it was started and the age of the structures, we don't have that information, but Lionel might have that information with him or know that.
If the applicant would want to speak to that, please.
I'm not positive on the mobile homes themselves, what the age are. They rent the lots out. And the ones that are there, they have been being remodeled. So the only one probably is number 2. And that one, I think he was going to put new siding and stuff on that one this year. So they should all look very nice.
Okay, thank you. Do board members have other questions of the staff or applicant?
Dennis Gregory, Jill asked one of my questions. The other question was the applicant indicated that this was going to be the last lot. It looks like there's more room there. Is there a limitation on the number he can have, or is it just the applicant's wish not to add any more?
Okay, could the applicant address that?
That's what I want to put in there because the way the lot is designed, it would be difficult to put more. I don't know where I could actually go with it.
And from being
I got the drain field and stuff is to the north, and the septic is to the northwest or northeast. Northwest. I'm sorry, but otherwise, if I went further back, I'd have to get pumps to pump the septic up and stuff. It just wouldn't be cost effective to try and do anymore. And I don't know the area with a bunch of trailers either. But I figure with one more, I mean, it's got plenty of room for it.
Okay, thank you. Additional questions?
Madam Chair, Jill DeLong, you mentioned, the applicant mentions the septic system. Is the septic system able to handle the load of one more home in this property?
Yes, I just got to add 1,000-gallon tank beside them, and I have plenty of room for that. I talked to the septic designer, and he said that should be no problem to add a 1,000-gallon tank. I went through that when I was trying to get the variance. They said I needed 1,000 gallons per each trailer. I got 4,000 there now, and I just got to put one more 1,000-gallon in, which will be easy to do to tie in.
Okay, additional questions? So hearing none, do we have anyone that is on the phone or on site here that wishes to address this matter? Hearing none, could we get a motion to close the public hearing?
Madam Chair, Sean Blackburn here. I move we close the public hearing.
All right, we have a motion to close. Is there a second?
Mike Kane, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing. and move on to findings. All right, the findings is to construct a new residential dwelling less than 700 feet from a registered animal feedlot. Number one, the proposed use is allowed in the zoning district in which the subject property is located.
Madam Chair, Mike Kane, the property is mobile home zoned already, so it is allowed use to another mobile home.
Is there anyone that disagrees with Mike's determination for number one? Hearing none, I'll mark that as unanimous yes. Number two, the variance will be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls and any related ordinances, yes or no.
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, 914-1. A1 is to, for the residential manufacturing home district, is to provide a diversity of housing, prices, and styles. And so, yes, I think it.
Right. Is there anyone that disagrees with Dennis's determination for number two? Hearing none, I will mark that as unanimous yes. Number three, the variance will be consistent with the comprehensive plan, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Jill DeLong, yes, it is consistent with the comprehensive plan goal 6, objective 1, a diversity of housing prices and styles meeting the needs of residents of different ages, incomes, and lifestyles. Yes.
Right. Is there anyone that disagrees with Jill's determination for number three? Hearing none, I'll mark that as a unanimous yes. Number four, the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Mike Kane, it's reasonable if you have the space in a mobile home park to add additional trailer.
All right. Is there anyone that disagrees with Mike's yes for number four? Hearing none, I will mark that as unanimous yes. Number five, the plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner.
Dennis Gregory, it is a manufactured home park, and where it was sited was next to the feedlot. This does not change. Adding this mobile home does not change that siting, so I think it is unique to the property.
Right. So is there anyone that disagrees with Dennis's determination for number five? Hearing none, I will mark it a unanimous yes. Number six, the variance, if granted, maintains the essential character of the locality.
Madam Chair, Mike Kane, I don't think by adding one more mobile home will change the character of that location.
Is there anyone that disagrees with the determination for number six? And I will mark that as unanimous yes. Number seven, the need for the variance involves more than economic considerations. I believe their economics is probably a part of this, but also it opens up a living opportunity for somebody in that area. Is there anyone that disagrees with that determination for number seven? All right, hearing none, I will mark that as a unanimous yes. We're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, I would make a motion to approve the applicant's request for a variance to construct a new residential dwelling 394 feet from an animal feedlot with the condition that the applicant provide some type of a privacy barrier between the manufactured home park and that adjoining or adjacent farm place.
And
Member Gregory, I'd like to specify that it's the adjoining property, just so that we are clear on. which boundary they want to build it on.
Right, that was my motion, was to that adjacent farm place. I think it's to the south.
And board members, would we want, how are we going to determine what a barrier is? Or should we ask that they meet with staff to determine that? Or, is it a fence? Is it bushes? Is it a berm? What are we looking for a barrier?
The reason I left it somewhat general was it sounded like the applicant was in the process of putting up shrubbery that would provide privacy. I think that's an acceptable alternative. If they're not doing that, then a fence would be an acceptable alternative. I don't know if staff wants that burden. And so I can make my motion more specific if that would be the wish of both the applicant, staff, and the board.
I would feel more comfortable with it being more specific because, some people's idea is a bush every 20 feet. Some people's, idea is that bushes that will grow to commingle. So I think we need to have, some type of determination of what that will look like.
All right, I'll amend my motion then and go with the letter and that the applicant should construct a privacy fence 8 foot in height on the south side of the property.
All right, we have a motion on the board. On the table, is there a second to that motion?
Madam
Or
Chair,
discussion?
I'll second that.
All right, thank you. So right now we have a yes from Dennis and Sean. I'll do a roll call for the rest of the vote. Jill?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
Oh, and I guess I skipped Mike there. Mike?
Yes.
And I also will vote yes. So motion carries. And if you have more questions about your application, you could talk to staff via the phone during business hours. We're ready to move on to item number 3. Item number 3 is to consider a request from CJ Partnership LLC, Albany, Minnesota, from Section 6.5 of the Stearns County Subsurface Sewage Treatment System Ordinance 422 to employ a holding tank as a sewage treatment system for an other establishment. Said ordinance does not allow for the use of a holding tank to serve other establishments. The affected property is 80 acres of the northwest quarter of the northeast quarter and the southeast quarter of the northeast quarter, Section 27, Track 125 North, Range 31 West of Albany Township. And the property address is 21745 340th Street, Albany, Minnesota. And is the applicant with us? Can staff indicate if the applicant is with us, please? All right, we'll move forward with the staff reading the application, and then we will check if this applicant has joined us.
Your system isn't working. Okay, now you heard me, I'm here.
All right, thank you. All right, could you state your name and your address for us?
Chris Kotzer. My address is 21745 340th Street, Albany, Minnesota.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kotzer. And if staff could then give us an overview of this application.
Where's my mute? Good evening, Madam Chair. First, I'd like to ask if there was any board members that were not able to visit the site? I can't hear. Okay. And then let me ask if anybody besides me would like to go back to 1984. Okay, sorry. The applicant purchased the property in 2002 to operate his excavating business and to reside on the tract. At that time, it was 160 acres. In 2016, the property was split in half, and it's now an 80-acre tract. He no longer resides on this tract, but he does still operate
his excavating business on the tract. The
The
applicant was granted a conditional use permit
permit
by Albany Township in February of 2020 to operate a
operate a concrete mix plant in his existing gravel pit. The permit conditioned hours of operation detailed in the report. That permit is valid until December 31st of 2038. The property is large enough to accommodate a type 1 or 3 system with a dispersal area. However, the site is severely disturbed and compacted, and the native soils have been mined out from the area. Property is not located in the shoreline overlay. Municipal services are not available to the property. City of Albany, Albany Township, and property owners within 100 feet have been notified. The property is in an A40 zoning district, and the applicant has submitted a holding tank design completed by a licensed designer, including a signed maintenance contract. The recommended conditions would be to grant or deny the variance as requested based on the findings. And if the variance were to be granted, pumping maintenance records shall be submitted annually as part of the permitting process. That would be covered under the permitting process. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Applicant, Mr. Kotzer, if you have any comments you'd like to make for us this evening?
No, I guess just that Tim Hagan came out to do the design, and we would have installed a drain field if it would have been possible. We looked around and everything's been compacted. We mined the sand down to the silt, and there just isn't a good spot for it at this time.
Okay, thank you. Board members, do any of you have any comments in regard to, or any questions for staff or the applicant?
Dennis Gregory, just a confirmation. Are you installing 2 holding tanks or just 1?
2, I believe. There's going to be one for the toilet and one for the floor drains.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, Mike Hain. Also a question for the applicant. How many employees do you employ, and are you open year-round?
It will not be open year-round. There's going to be 5 ready-mix truck drivers, hopefully.
So limited, very limited use.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Additional questions? Hearing none. Staff, do we have anyone that is on the phone or on the premises that would like to speak to this application? Okay, hearing none. I think, unless there's additional questions, I think we're ready to close the public hearing. If I could have a motion for that.
This is Jacob Hawk. I move we close the public hearing.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Mike Hain, second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, we have closed the public hearing.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think there's the applicant, you and David Nett all have your microphones on, and there's a lot of feedback coming through from one of them.
Okay, we'll try to address that. Do we have, well then, I think we're ready for findings. Number one, the proposed use is allowed in the zoning district in which the subject property is located, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, the applicant has a conditional use permit to have a concrete mix plant, and so it would be allowed in that A40 district.
Is there anyone that disagrees with the determination of yes for number one? Hearing none, we'll mark that as unanimous yes. Number two, the variance will be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls and any related ordinances, yes or no?
Yes, in section 9.3.1 under the A40, if agricultural use isn't a great use for it, we can have other uses in the A40 district, and this is one of them.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Does anyone disagree with Mike's comments on number two?
Madam Chair, Jill DeLong, I just want to add on to it that this is the ordinance in particular that we're talking about is holding tanks, and the soil is not there currently to handle a drain field or other. So I believe that it is still within where the ordinance is trying to regulate proper use of these retaining systems for waste. I believe that this is still trying to find the best proper use to retain waste. So yes.
All right, thank you. Is anyone opposed to those comments for number two? Hearing none, I'll mark it as a unanimous yes. Number three, the variance will be consistent with the comprehensive plan, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, Goal 7, Objective 1, looking at the land use changes and how they respond to the natural systems. And in this case, given the mined soils, a holding tank would be the best option.
Great. Is there anyone that disagrees with that determination for number three? Hearing none, I'll mark it as unanimous yes. Number four, the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner, yes or no? I believe providing a restroom for your employees on site is a reasonable manner. Does anyone disagree with the yes for number four? Hearing none, we'll move on. We'll mark it as unanimous yes and move on to 5. The plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner.
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, the property has been mined. The soils that could be used for a soil treatment system are not available. And so the plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to this property.
Is there anyone that disagrees with that determination? Hearing none, I'll mark that as a unanimous yes. Number 6, the variance, if granted, maintains the essential character of the locality, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Mike Kane, by adding a holding tank is not going to change any of the character of that area.
Is there anyone that disagrees with that determination? Hearing none, I'll mark it as a unanimous yes. Number 7, the need for the variance involves more than economic considerations, yes or no?
Dennis Gregory. I don't think economics was a factor in this request.
Okay, is there anyone that disagrees with the determination for number 7? Hearing none, I will mark it as a unanimous yes. We are ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, I would make a motion that we grant a variance for the applicant to install a holding tank for another establishment with the condition that the applicant maintains pumping maintenance records, which shall be submitted annually as part of the permitting process.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Is there anyone that would second that?
Mike Kane, I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and now I will, so I have Dennis and Mike as a yes. I will do a roll call. Jill?
Yes.
Dave? Dave? I'll come back to Dave. Jake?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Dave, are you there?
But I can't unmute my,
I hear you.
oh, can you hear me now? I'm having trouble unmuting my speaker, so I agree.
All right, we have a unanimous yes. Motion carries to employ a holding tank as a sewage system for this other establishment. And if you have any other questions about your application, you can check with staff via phone during regular business hours. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
We're ready to move on to item number 4.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Item number 4 is to consider a request from Jay and April Willeitner. I hope I have your name right. Freeport, Minnesota, from Section 9.6.11A3 of the Stearns County Land Use and Zoning Ordinance 439 to construct a second-story addition on a legal non-conforming residential dwelling unit less than 63 feet from the center line of a township road. The said ordinance requires a minimum setback of 63 feet from the center line of a township road. The affected property is the west 5 acres of Government Lot 12, Section 31, Track 127, North, Range 31 West of Crane Township. And the property address is 44102 251st Avenue of Freeport, Minnesota. And is our applicant with us this evening? Can staff indicate if we have the applicant with us or on the phone? Can you put that in speaker next to a mic? Okay. All right, we're working on getting the phone hooked up. We do have the applicant on the line, so it might be just a moment before we're ready to proceed.
Okay.
All right, we have a staff member that is in contact with the applicant via phone. So if, and the applicant that we'll be hearing from this evening, is it Jay and April? Is that who's with us?
April, are you there?
I am.
Okay. Do you have the WebEx? Okay, Bonnie, sorry. Okay. So she's going to. Not getting feedback.
Is it possible for a staff member just to talk to her on the phone and be a relay person?
Okay. Okay, did you call him? It says this is invalid.
You're breaking up.
Yeah.
Shelley, if you're speaking to us, you're on mute.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. This is April Wegler here at Avenue 4412. You're looking to get a variance to add.
All right, excuse me. Can I interrupt a moment? You're breaking up quite badly, so it's difficult to hear you.
If you're not talking, I'm going to do this.
Bonnie.
All right, board members, we're going to move to the next item and come back to this item when we have the technical situation figured out. All right, we will move on to item number 5, which is consider a request from Jeremy Schomer of Avalon Homes Incorporated, Sartell, Minnesota, on behalf of Extran Family Real Estate Trust, Maplewood, Minnesota, from sections 5.1.2A1 and 2 and 10.2.11A1A and 10.2.11A2B of the Stearns County Land Use and Zoning Ordinance 439 to replace and expand a legal non-conforming residential dwelling unit ahead of the established building line and less than 50 feet from the Little Birch Lake classified as a recreational development. Said ordinance allows for replacement but no expansion of the structure and requires a minimum setback of 50 feet. The affected property is Lot 4 of First Edition to Birchwood Lake Shores Lots, Section 35, Track 127 North, Range 33 West of Melrose Township, and the property address is 44827 Birch Ridge Road, Melrose, Minnesota. And is our applicant for this request with us?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, if you could state your name and your address, please.
Jeremy Schomer, 1120 First Street South, Sartell, Minnesota.
All right, thank you. And if staff could please give us an overview of this application.
Sure, Madam Chair. Was everyone able to visit the site, or who was not able to visit the site?
Dave is muted. I can't hear him.
Okay, I'm sorry. Was there any of the board members that were unable to visit the site? Hearing none, I will move on. The owners of this property purchased in September of '97 its lot for first edition of Birchwood Lakeshore lots, which was platted in 1960 prior to any official controls. The property is an R1 zoning district, and it's about 2.41 acres per the certificate of survey. The existing dwelling unit is 24 by 32, and that was constructed in 1964, again, prior to official controls, and that's per the county assessor records. There's 3 bedrooms in the structure. The owners got a permit in July of 2010 to construct 400 square feet of deck under the 15% rule, and per the certificate of survey that was submitted, the existing dwelling is 49.9 feet, and the deck is 46 feet landward of the ordinary high water level. So, in fact, it's in the shore impact zone dwelling. So the proposal would be to construct a dwelling unit in the exact same footprint and same dimensions, 24 by 32, on a new foundation. The foundation's not reusable. Per the building plans that were submitted, it appears the expansion will be the equivalent of 1 story, and we can talk to the contractor. He can provide more input on that. The contractor is explaining that there's a 2-foot overall increase in the height of the structure. The overall building height would be 23 feet, 1 1/4 inches. There'll be 1 additional bedroom in the new structure for a total of 4. The decks would be the same dimensions as were permitted in 2010, except for a 1-foot expansion on the north side to a deck width of 8 feet. The dwelling and deck will be in the impact zone and ahead of the established building line. The property is located in shoreline overlay of Little Birch Lake, which is a recreational development lake. Little Birch is on the impaired waters list for mercury and fish. A preliminary design for a new subsurface sewage treatment system has been submitted, and also a construction site permit application has been submitted also. The lot coverage is well under the allowed 25% threshold. One alternative to the request would be to replace the existing dwelling to the same dimensions in the same location, no increase in height, and the deck to the same dimensions that were permitted in 2010. Additional alternatives would be to move the deck and structure back 4 feet outside of the shore impact zone or to the required 100-foot setback. Melrose Township, Sauk River Watershed District, Little Birch Lake Improvement, DNR, and property owners within 500 feet have been notified. The recommended conditions, I just alluded to those in the staff report about replacement of the dwelling to the same dimensions, or moving it back 4 feet or to the required 100 feet. And I do have one letter of correspondence, and I'll read that into the minutes. David, my name is Gary Reed. My wife Robin and I own the 2 adjoining lots and cabin to the north of the X-Strand cabin. We are writing this as confirmation that we welcome the new structure the X-Strand family is proposing for their lot. It will fit nicely with the surroundings and will be a favorable addition to Little Birch Lake. From our lots, we do not see the X-Strand cabin, so any concerns about building lands are not an issue for us. Thank you for accepting our positive written testimony regarding this matter, Gary. That's all I have, Madam Chair. I'll let you take it away.
Okay, and I'm not sure if he mentioned if people had been out to the site. Is there anyone that was not able to visit this site? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Applicant, if you have comments that you'd like to share with us?
No, I think that pretty much summarized everything.
Okay, thank you. Board members, if you have questions for either staff member or the applicant.
Madam Chair, staff, could you change the display to be the current agenda item, please? It's showing the agenda item we skipped.
All right, we'll take care of that.
Madam Chair, Mike Haim, I have a question for the applicant. Is it possible to move the whole structure 4 feet to be out of the shore impact zone?
It is. It actually, it would probably be favorable to be building 4 feet away. The problem is that the driveway comes in, and if we bring it back 4 feet, it would actually make it easier for the customers to get into their house.
So that's favorable?
Mm-hmm.
He's not able to change the screen at this time. They have control in the back room. They're trying to work out the technology problem, and Dave has no control over the screen at the moment.
Okay. Madam Chair, Jill DeLong, question for the applicant. It looks like the pitch of the roof is changing, where previously east-west and now it's north-south. How will this impact runoff to the lake, being that this structure is so close to the shoreline?
Actually, there's a retaining wall there now. The vegetation where it flattens out, I wouldn't see any kind of runoff into the lake. That would not be a concern. Whereas actually this is wrong. So the back of the gables will be coming off to the 2 sides where it peaks at the peninsula. Gutters will be installed, and then we will use a rain barrel garden for that to disperse the water that comes off the roof.
Thank you. Staff and board members, how do you feel about if we approve this variance, if we include that requirement for rain gutters and rain gardens, as the applicant sounds like they're willing to do that?
Madam Chair, members of the board, that's entirely a board decision.
Are there any board members that have comments on that?
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, I would agree if we leave it in that same location. I am curious from the applicant, why not move the entire structure back to where the garage is, and then just leave that entire area undisturbed? The shore impact zone and everything to that side of the driveway.
I guess that would discuss a significant amount of money to do. You have to change everything, driveway, septic well. I didn't know that there was, according to when I grabbed permit, as long as I kept the foundation the same, there were supposed to be no issues. I guess
part of owning this property would be obviously the view. You would change the whole dynamic, and then also, right now, the neighbors could never see the elevation of this building. I think it would change the whole outlook of everything, land and everything.
Okay, is there any other board members that have comments?
Madam Chair, sorry, I was trying to think through those comments. And earlier, Board Member Hain asked a question about moving it back 4 feet. What does that take? That would be a different place for the foundation, I assume, and restructuring some retaining walls, so on and so forth. If you can maybe comment further on that, just for clarification.
Yeah, so the problem with this current house is that it has actually a dirt foundation. It's probably not suitable for living anymore. Pulling it up 4 feet wouldn't change anything whatsoever, so that would just kind of be easy. Like I said, with the slope and the runoff right there, it's just kind of steep. Bring it up, we could flatten everything out. We could just grade it a lot better. I would just be in favor for the 4 feet, even where it's at existing. I think it'd be better, A, for the property aesthetics, and also just a convenience for the customer. I think it just make the most sense. Just where the currently located.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the staff?
Madam Chair, Mike Hain again. Just a little more clarification. If we move it back 4 feet, will the overall elevation change the height where it would be an obstructed view for anyone? Or would it be the same? You would just basically move it back 4 feet?
It would not change the view, actually. It would stay the same height. Everything would stay the same. We would just be able to make the door, instead of making a ramp go back up to the door, the steps that come in the house, we could just grade it off level. As you see in the pictures and everything, at the side mount door, I could change it to the front again, make it just a direct walk-in right from the driveway. It would not change anybody's views, disrupt anybody's. So.
Okay, if I can ask if there's anyone on the phone or present here in another room that would like to speak to this application. Okay, hearing none. Are there any questions from staff or from the board members yet before we close the public hearing? Okay, hearing none. I'm looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
I'll second that. Sean.
Bonnie, you're muted.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none. Motion carries. Then we are ready for findings of fact. And the variance request is to replace and expand a legal non-conforming residential dwelling unit ahead of the established building line and less than 50 feet from the Birch Lake, classified as a recreational development. Number one, the proposed use is allowed in the zoning district in which the subject property is located, yes or no?
Single-family construction is allowed in the R1 zoning district.
Is there anyone that disagrees with the determination of yes for number 1? Then I'll mark that as unanimous yes. Number 2, the variance will be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls and any related ordinances, yes or no?
Dennis Gregory, 991A, providing a variety of residential opportunities. So I think it is in harmony.
Does anyone disagree with yes for number 2? Hearing none, I'll mark that as a unanimous yes. Number 3, the variance will be consistent with a comprehensive plan, yes or no?
As Commissioner Gregory had just stated, under Growth and Development Goal 6, Objective 1, to provide a variety of housing style and lifestyles for residents.
Okay, is there anyone that disagrees with a yes for number 3? Hearing none, I'll mark that as a unanimous yes. Number 4, the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Jill DeLong, they propose to replace a residential dwelling with a new residential dwelling. That seems to be a reasonable manner to me.
Does anyone disagree with a yes for number 4? Hearing none, I will mark that as unanimous yes. Number 5, the plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner. Yes or no?
Dennis Gregory, 2 things. First, the site of the current house was put in before official controls. And secondly, the topography of that land really prevents being able to move that site substantially. So I do think it is circumstances unique to the property.
Thank you. Does anyone disagree with yes for number 5? Hearing none, I will make that a unanimous yes. Number 6, the variance, if granted, maintains the essential character of the locality, yes or no?
David Gamrod, I don't believe it'll change anything in the locality.
Thank you. Does anyone disagree with yes for number 6? Hearing none, I will mark it as unanimous yes for number 6. 7, the need for the variance involves more than economic considerations, yes or no?
Economics weren't really discussed as a part of this application.
Thank you. Does anyone disagree with a yes for number 7? Hearing none, I will mark it as a unanimous yes. We're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, I would make a motion that we approve the applicant's request for variance to replace and expand a legal non-conforming residential dwelling and deck that is located in the shore impact zone and ahead of the established building line with 2 conditions. The first condition that the replacement occurs at least 50 feet as a setback, and the second condition that the applicant includes rain gutters and rain garden to capture the runoff from the roof.
Madam Chair, Sean Blackburn, I'm going to second that motion.
I have a question, clarification on Dennis's. Are you requiring them to move it back 4 feet out of the impact zone?
Yes, and so thus the 50-foot setback, which would mean they'd have to move it 4 feet back.
All right.
Madam Chair, members of the board, it says the existing dwelling is 49.9 feet.
The deck is 46, and so the deck and the house would have to move back 4 feet.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Madam Chair, Angie Byrne,
Yes?
I have a comment. You probably know what I'm going to say already because I say this every time you talk about stormwater. The stormwater, we would recommend the Board of Adjustment required to be engineered. Otherwise, as we've discussed in the past, as it becomes difficult for staff to be able to tell them what they're going to need to do to address the stormwater. So we would recommend that the Board of Adjustment consider an engineered stormwater management plan.
Okay, thank you. Would the person making the motion be open to amending their motion?
Yes, I would. This is Dennis.
So if you could please state your motion again with that amendment for the record.
Sure. We make a motion to approve the variance for the applicant to replace and expand a legal non-conforming residential dwelling and deck that is located 50 feet at a minimum, back, and that as one condition. The second condition is that they have rain gutters and rain garden that are engineered.
All right, thank you.
To capture the runoff.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, Shane Blackburn, I will second that once again.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second. I'll make a roll call for the rest of the vote. Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
And I am a yes. So motion carries. If you have any questions about your application, applicant, you can call into staff during regular business hours, and they would be able to help you.
Okay.
Are we ready to go on to number 4, or should we continue?
Thank you.
Thank you. April is on. April is number 4.
Are we ready? Are we ready to go back to number 4, or should we proceed to number 6?
This is April Wegleitner. I am present now on the WebEx.
Wonderful. We're glad to have you with us. So we will go back to our previous agenda item that was skipped over for just the temporary moment. So number 4, you'll have to refresh my memory, staff. Did you read the full staff report already? No. All right. We will have, welcome April, and we will have the staff read or put into record their report. And following that, I will come back to you, April, for your input.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Was there any members unable to make the site visit to the site? Hearing none, I will proceed. The applicants own a 5-acre tract that was purchased by one of the applicants in the year 2004. The lot of record, it was created in 1936 for the county transfer book documents. The dwelling itself was constructed in 1984 for the county assessor's records, which was prior to the adoption of official control in April 2000. The applicants are proposing a second-story addition, 30 by 32, does not include a bedroom, and that's going to be over the top of their existing garage and a little bit over the house. The nearest point of the garage is 42 feet from the center line of the road as traveled. They're also proposing a 12 by 14 front entry addition, but that is not encumbered in this request. It's going to meet all the setbacks. A small portion of the property is located in the shoreline overlay, but this proposed project is not within the shoreline overlay. The property is zoned A40. However, it's on a tract at least 5 acres, but less than 10, so we're looking at R10 zoning. Setbacks, much like the first item. The impervious lot coverage, not a concern with this proposal. The compliance inspection is not required on the sewage treatment system. There's no bedroom addition. It's not in the shoreline overlay. The owners do have documentation from a licensed structural engineer. The current foundation is suitable to support a second story. There are no other residential dwelling units that are accessed from this road, 251st Avenue. Crane Township and property owners within 500 feet have been notified. And an alternative to the request would be to construct an addition that meets the minimum required town road setback. There are no recommended conditions, so I will turn it over to you, Madam Chair.
Bonnie, you're muted.
Yeah, I was talking to staff, so I was purposely muted. All right, applicant, if you could share with us your comments.
This is April Wegleitner. I guess what we had originally had planned was to build closer to the road until we found out that we didn't meet the setbacks. So we adjusted our plans to just go above our existing garage. So our variance that we are applying for is just to get that addition approved, being that our setbacks aren't met from the road.
Okay, thank you. All right, board members, is there anyone that has questions for either the applicant or staff?
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, question for staff or maybe the applicant. 251st Avenue, or I think it was called Avenue, where does that go? Is there a possibility of future residential homes being built on that avenue?
This is April Wegleitner. We live on a dead-end road. We are the only property on this road, and we own all the land around the road on both sides and the actual end of the county road, or the township road, excuse me. We own that land as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Is there anyone on the phone or on site that would like to speak to this application? Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
I so move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. The public hearing is now closed. And we'll go to findings unless there's other questions. All right, that wasn't in our building, so that was in somebody's house, so we're not evacuating. Number one, the proposed use is allowed in the zoning district in which the subject property is located, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Mike Kane, under R10, it does allow for remodel and expansion of existing dwellings. You're muted, Bonnie.
Oh. I have a yes for number one. Is there anyone that disagrees with that? Hearing none, I will mark that as a unanimous yes. And I think I could mark a lot unanimous yes if I don't turn on my mic that I can hear any of you. Number 2, the variance will be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls and any related ordinances, yes or no?
Dennis Gregory, 96.1C provides a variety of residential opportunities. So yes.
All right, we have 1 yes for number 2. Is there anyone that disagrees with yes for number 2? Hearing none, we'll mark that as unanimous yes. Number 3, the variance will be consistent with the comprehensive plan, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Mike Kane, under growth and development, goal number 6, objective 1, provide a diversity of housing prices and styles meet the needs of residents of different ages, incomes, and lifestyles.
Okay, thank you. We have a yes for number 3. Is there anyone that disagrees with a yes for number 3? Hearing none, we'll mark that as unanimous yes. Number 4, the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner, yes or no?
Dennis Gregory, the applicant is going to be expanding their current residential structure, which is using the property in a reasonable manner.
All right, we have a yes for number 4. Is there anyone that disagrees with yes? Hearing none, I'll mark that as unanimous yes. Number 5, the plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner.
Madam Chair, Mike Kane, the current property they wish to expand is already the 43 feet from the center line. So they're not doing anything to bring it closer. They're just adding up.
Okay, we have a yes for number 5. Does anyone disagree with yes for number 5? Hearing none, we'll mark that as unanimous yes. Number 6, the variance, if granted, maintains the essential character of the locality, yes or no?
Dennis Gregory, they are just expanding a house that already exists, so it will not change the essential character.
We have a yes for number 6. Does anyone disagree with yes? Hearing none, I will mark that as unanimous yes. Number 7, the need for the variance involves more than economic considerations, yes or no?
Madam Chair, this is Dave Gammer. I don't believe economics were part of this discussion.
We have a yes for number 7. Does anyone disagree with yes? Hearing none, I'll mark that as unanimous yes. We are now ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, I would make a motion that we approve the applicant's request for a variance to construct a 30 by 32-foot second-story addition on a legal non-conforming residential dwelling, which is 42 feet from the center line of 251st Avenue.
We have a motion and a second.
I will second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and now I'll do a roll call. So I am marking Dennis and Sean as a yes. Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. So motion carries. And April, if you have any questions about your application, you can call into the office and talk to staff during regular business hours.
Thank you very much, and thanks for getting back to us.
All right, then we are on to item number 6. Item number 6 is to consider a request from Stephen Schauer of Schauer & Sons Construction, Glencoe, Minnesota, On behalf of John Davis and Antoinette Casella, South Haven, Minnesota, from sections 5.1.2 C2 and 3 and 10.2.11A1A and 2A of the Stearns County Land Use and Zoning Ordinance 439 to construct an addition on a non-conforming residential dwelling ahead of the established building line and wholly within the shore impact zone, and an accessory structure wholly within the shore impact zone of Grass Lake classified as a natural environment. The said ordinance states that additions to non-conforming structures located wholly or partly within the shore impact zone shall not be allowed, and structures on natural environment lakes to be set back 200 feet. The affected property is Lot 46, Block 2 of Clearwater Harbor, Section 32, Track 122 North, Range 27 West of Linden Township. The property address is 235 Baxter Road, South Haven, Minnesota. And is our applicant with us? All right, it appears that we do not have our applicant with us, so we will proceed with staff doing the staff report.
Okay, before I start, I will ask again, was anyone unable to visit the site?
Dennis Gregory, I visited the site, but I just want to report I spoke with John Davis, who indicated the location of the proposed additions.
All right, we're going to stop here for just a moment. We're going to go ahead to item number 7 while they check if the applicant for number 6 is going to be available or not. So yes, looks like somebody's coming in, but we'll go ahead to number 7 and jump back to 6 later. Just a minute. Right, item number 7 is to consider a request from J&D Properties of St. Joseph, LLC, St. Joseph, Minnesota, from Section 6.5 of the Stearns County Subsurface Sewage Treatment System Ordinance 422 to employ a holding tank on a sewage treatment system for another establishment. The said ordinance does not allow for the use of holding tanks to serve other establishments. The affected property is Lot 1, Block 1 of St. Joe Industrial Park East, Section 12, Track 124 North, Range 29 West of the City of St. Joseph. And the property address is 30489 Pearl Drive, St. Joseph, Minnesota. And do we have an applicant present for this application?
Yes.
Okay, could you state your name and your address for the record, please?
John Notch, 1730 Hazelwood Circle, St. Cloud, Minnesota.
Thank you. Staff will give us their report, and then following that, we will come back to you for comment.
Did anyone visit this site? Hearing none, I'll move on. The applicant purchased the property in December of 2003. It's in St. Joe Industrial Park East, which was platted in 2003. In 2019, the property was annexed into the city of St. Joe. The existing commercial building does have a subsurface sewage treatment system and a private well. The applicant is planning a warehouse addition that will include a bathroom. A holding tank design has been completed by a licensed designer, including a signed maintenance contract. And the designer does in that design packet, he details the reasons why the holding tank is a necessary wastewater solution for this particular application. Property is not in the shoreline overlay. Municipal services at this time are not available to this property. The City of St. Joseph and all property owners within 500 feet have been notified of the request. Recommended condition, much like the first holding tank, if the variance were to be granted, pumping maintenance records shall be submitted annually as part of the permitting process. I have no correspondence, Madam Chair, and you can take it over.
Okay, thank you. And if our applicant can share with us, Mr. Notch, any your thoughts, please?
Yeah, well, I want to add on to my warehouse, and I don't really have no other way to put a bathroom in here because I'd have to run line through my parking lot, and I'm worried about it freezing, and then I'd have to get a lift pump into where I'm going, and it's about 160 feet I'd have to run it. So I was just looking for, just putting a holding tank in, and I figured, city water and sewer may come through in the next 5-6 years. And then it would get hooked up into that anyway, so I didn't want to take the chance of everything freezing up on me. So I just thought a holding tank would be the right way to go for it.
Can you share with us approximately what you would estimate the number of employees that would be using this bathroom and the frequency?
So there would probably be 3 employees using it. And no one's in there full time. All the guys are out installing doors all day. So it would probably the bathroom may get flushed maximum 3 times a day.
Okay, thank you. If there are any questions from board members for staff or the applicant?
Dennis Gregory, just a quick question for staff. What is this zone? Is this commercial or industrial?
Madam Chair, Member Gregory, county zoning does not apply in this case. It was annexed into the City of St. Joe in 2019. I'm assuming it's commercial or industrial. I'm unaware, but it's county zoning isn't applicable in this particular request.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Are there any individuals that are either on the phone or on site here that would like to speak to this application? Hearing none, we'll be ready for a motion to close the public hearing.
Mike Hain, so move.
All right, we have a motion to close the public hearing.
Jacob Hawk, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. So we would be ready for the findings of fact to employ a holding tank as a sewage treatment system for an other establishment. Number 1, the proposed use is allowed in the zoning district to which the subject property is located, yes or no?
Mike Hain, the property is located in an industrial park and accessory structures are allowed in the industrial park.
Thank you. So we have a yes to number 1. Is there anyone that disagrees with yes? That will be a unanimous yes. Number 2, the variance will be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls and any related ordinances, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Jill DeLong, according to Section 6.5 of the Subsurface Sewage Treatment System Ordinance Number 422, I believe that this ordinance is trying to restrict usage of holding tanks for limited use. It does have some temporary alternative things for extraordinary circumstances. I believe that this does sound like an extraordinary circumstance where it doesn't make sense to pipe it all the way to the existing mound system, where there's no place to put a mound system on that side of the building. So I believe that it does fall under that ordinance and is in harmony with it.
Thank you. We have a yes for number 2. Does anyone disagree with yes for number 2? Hearing none, I'll mark that as unanimous yes. Number 3, the variance will be consistent with the comprehensive plan, yes or no?
Mike Hain, under Economic Development Plan Goals, number 1, Objective 2, to encourage industrial development within communities.
Okay, we have a yes for number 3. Does anyone disagree with yes for number 3? I'll mark that as unanimous yes. Number 4, the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, we have a yes from, was that from Mike?
No, I think you're asking me, the property owner, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure who had voted that. All right, board members, number 4.
Madam Chair, Jill DeLong, I believe that they're just expanding their existing building. It sounds like it will just be an addition to the building. It sounds like it's a reasonable use. They just want to add extra holding tank to accommodate their employees that may need to use it without having to walk through the entire building to get to the other bathroom. That does sound like a reasonable manner to me.
All right, we have a yes for number 4. Is there anyone that disagrees with yes for number 4? Hearing none, I will mark that as unanimous yes. Number 5, the plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner, yes or no?
Madam Chair, the state speak to the property because the septic drain field is on the opposite end, and it's the only workable solution to until city spring water come in.
All right, we have a yes for number 5. Is there anyone that disagrees with yes for 5? Hearing none, I'll mark that as unanimous yes. Number 6, the variance, if granted, maintains the essential character of the locality, yes or no?
Dennis Gregory, a holding tank will not change the essential character of the locality.
Okay, number 6, we have a yes. Is there anyone that disagrees with yes? I'll mark that as unanimous yes. Number 7, the need for the variance involves more than the economic considerations, yes or no? I don't think economics were really a part of this decision. I think it was a matter of providing a bathroom facility for a minimal number of employees without a lot of disruption of the work of the operation. We have 1 yes for number 7. Is there anyone that disagrees with yes for number 7? Hearing none, I will mark that as unanimous yes, and we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, I would make a motion that we grant the applicant's variance to install a holding tank for another establishment.
Right?
Madam Chair, this is Jill DeLong. Member Gregory, it does look like there was a recommended condition to include maintenance records. Is that okay to add to your motion?
Thank you. I will amend my motion that if we grant this variance, that the applicant maintain pumping records that are submitted annually as part of the permitting process.
All right, thank you. And I believe, Mike, were you seconding it?
Yes, I can second that motion.
And you would agree to the amendment?
Yes, I do.
All right, we have 2 yeses on Dennis and Mike, and we'll do roll call for this. Jill?
Yes.
Mike? Oh, excuse me, Mike made the second. Dave?
Yes.
Jake?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
And I will also be a yes. Motion carries. So you can, if you have any questions about your application, you can check with staff via telephone during regular business. Thank you. Now we will go back to number 6. Do we have the applicant here now for number 6? Okay, do we have an applicant for number 6?
Move we table number 6.
All right, if I can check with staff, have you had any contact with number 6? All right, we will take just a 5-minute break because they are getting technical. Okay, take a 5-minute break, and by that time they will be ready with the applicant. So don't go too far.
Thank you. That was the end one.
Okay, board members, we are soon able to reconvene. Before we do that, though, I'm going to do just a mini roll call so that we know that everyone is back in their locations.
Okay.
Dennis?
Okay.
Here.
Jill?
Yeah. Never mind.
Yes. Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Yep. Bye. Hello. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Is Dave there?
Yes.
Jake? Okay, we're waiting on Jake. And Sean? Okay, we're waiting on Jake and Sean to arrive back. And I believe the applicant's representative is here?
Yes, I am Steve Schaller.
Okay, we'll be back and ready to go in just a minute or two. I'm waiting for all of my board members to be back at their computers.
Okay, thank you. I was trying to call in and it wasn't letting me through. I was kind of panicking here. And
right.
your team there, they helped me out.
That's good. I know we're all struggling with technology nowadays.
Yes.
This is pretty smooth. On a daily basis, I do tutoring, and I'm on the computer with first graders and trying to get them to stay online. Sometimes they just cut me off. Jake, are you there? Is Sean back?
I'm back.
Yep, I've been talking to Steve, so. All right, we're going to reconvene, and I think I'll just quickly run through the application. Jake, are you there? All right, Jake will join us as soon as he's back. To consider a request from Stephen Sauer of Sauer Sons Construction, Glencoe, Minnesota, on behalf of John Davis and Antoinette Casella, South Haven, Minnesota, from sections 5.1.2C2 and 3 and 10.2.11A, 1A, and 2A of the Stearns County Land Use and Zoning Ordinance 439 to construct an addition on a non-conforming residential dwelling ahead of the established building line and wholly within the shore impact zone, and an accessory structure wholly within the shore impact zone of Grass Lake, classified as natural environment. The said ordinance states that additions to non-conforming structures located wholly or partly within the shore impact zone shall not be allowed, and structures on the natural environment lakes to be set back 200 feet. The affected property is Lot 46 of Block 2 of Clearwater Harbor, Section 32, Track 122 North, Range 27 West of Linden Township, and the property address is 235 Baxter Road, South Haven, Minnesota. And is our applicant there?
Yes, I am Steve Schaller.
And can you state your address for us, Steve?
11344 180th Street, Glencoe, Minnesota.
All right, thank you. We'll be having staff give us a report, and following that report, then I will come back to you for some comments.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Prior to the report, was everyone able to visit the site?
Dennis Gregory, I don't know if you got my comment earlier, but I was able to visit the site. And while I was on the site, I spoke with John Davis, who indicated just simply where the location of the proposed additions were.
And I also spoke with the homeowner, and he just described to me the location of where the house or the garage would be moved to.
Okay. Owners purchased the property in December of 2017. The lot is number 46 in Block 2 of Clearwater Harbor. Clearwater Harbor was platted in 1964 prior to official controls. The existing residential dwelling was constructed in 1973 per the county assessor's records. That was done through an after-the-fact variance and a construction site permit. There was no permit history obtainable on the detached garage. And I won't bore you with the permit history of the property. You've all had a chance to review that. The applicants and owners are proposing a 105 square foot front entry addition, which would be ahead of the established building line and 76.7 feet lower than the ordinary high water level. It's in the shore impact zone. They also want to remove the existing detached garage. It's located within the town road right-of-way, and it's also over the property line. And they'd like to construct a new 900 square foot, 30 by 30 detached garage, which would be 76.8 feet landward of the ordinary high water level. And the new garage would meet the required side property line setbacks, but it would also need a variance from Linden Township to be 6.5 feet from the road right-of-way. The ordinance allows for maximum accessory building area on this property of 900 square feet, maximum sidewall 10, and overall building height is 16, and the sidewall and overall height proposed meet those standards. Property is located in R1 zoning, obviously within the shoreline overlay of Grass Lake, and Grass Lake is not on the impaired waters list. The 100-year flood fringe does encroach onto the property, and a portion of the new proposed accessory would be within the flood fringe. The property is served by an MPCA permitted wastewater treatment facility. The proposed impervious lot coverage would be at 23.1% for their certificate of survey that was submitted. Linden Township, the Clearwater River Watershed District, Clearwater Lake Property Owners Association, Minnesota DNR, and property owners within 500 feet have been notified of the request. One alternative to the request would be to keep the existing detached garage and not construct the proposed entryway. And then the recommended condition is that if a variance were granted tonight, that a road right-of-way variance is still required from Linden Township, and we are asking to have that in hand prior to submitting a construction site permit. So the variance from the township would need to be acquired prior to submitting an application for construction. I have no more correspondence, Madam Chair, and so it's all yours.
All right, thank you. Okay, the applicant, if you can share with us your thoughts.
Well, first of all, appreciate you getting me online and webcam. And the owners of the property are very willing to work with everybody. We had a meeting out there with Jamie Lucas from Environmental, James Canner from the township, and we all sat down and decided where we thought the best possible thing would be to make everybody happy. This is what we come up with. So, from the township said that he didn't see any problem, but I was 60 days out on that meeting, so got about 30 days left for that one. So instead of canceling this meeting till that one was done, Jamie told me to get this meeting done and then do the township.
Okay, thank you.
Existing garage is falling down, so something has to be done with it.
Okay. All right. Do board members have questions for staff or for the applicant?
I have a question. This is Jacob Hawk here. Regarding that 100-year-old, 100-year flood fringe, how much of a concern is that at this point in time? I mean, it's there for a reason, but what would be your concerns with that?
Where do you, are you talking to me or someone else?
That's probably a question we'd address to staff.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries.
Madam Chair, Member Holt, it's not a significant concern. The structure is going to need to be, the elevation's going to need to meet a regulatory flood protection elevation. And a certificate from a qualified individual will need to be submitted verifying that the floor meets the required flood elevation.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, this is Jill DeLong. Is this one variance or two? It feels like it could be split into two.
And yes, you are correct that it is two requests, and at the end, when we're ready to do findings, we'll need to decide whether we want to do two separate ones or one jointly for both requests. So please keep that in mind while you're discussing this.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, if I don't have any other questions at this time, is there anyone in the facility or on the phone that would like to speak to this application? Okay, hearing none, I'd be open to closing the public hearing.
Also move.
All right, we have a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Mike Haynes, second.
All right, we have a second. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? All right, the public hearing is now closed. Board members, if someone could comment as to whether they would like to do this as two separate findings of fact or if they would like to do it as one combined.
Madam Chair, this is Jill DeLong. I feel like it could be two separate ones because I have concerns about the garage size. The previous garage was a 2-stall and significantly smaller. This new garage looks like it's a 3-stall. Although it is within the size limits, I feel like a reasonably sized garage could be made that would not encroach upon the high water level.
Right, so you'd like to see us do it as two separate findings?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, then we will go ahead and do two separate findings. I think what we will do is do the, the construction one first for the addition, the entryway addition. So the findings that we'll be working on first are to construct an addition on a non-conforming residential dwelling ahead of the established building line and wholly within the shore impact zone, and an accessory structure wholly within the shore impact zone of Grass Lake classified as natural environment. So the proposed use is allowed in the zoning district in which the subject property is located, yes or no?
Madam Chair, question for the applicant. Could the applicant explain a little bit about why there is a need to add this new entryway to the building?
Split-level house, and there isn't much, when you walk in the front door, you're coming right in the stairway, so there's really no place to hang your clothes or jacket or anything. And it would make access from the side where the garage is on, regardless of the old garage or new garage, make the access a lot more easy.
Thank you.
Okay, additional questions? before we move on to answering this question? So then I'll repeat the question and see if there's anyone that would like to make a comment on it. The proposed use is allowed in the zoning district in which the subject property is located, yes or no?
Madam Chair, the proposed use is to make an addition to a residential building. It's just a small entryway. I believe that is allowed within this zoning district.
We have a yes for number 1. Is there anyone that disagrees with that? Hearing none, I'll make that a unanimous yes. Number 2, the variance will be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls and any related ordinances, yes or no?
Mike Haim, R1 zoning under 9.9.1 allows additions on an existing home.
All right, we have a yes for number 2. Is there anyone that disagrees with that? I'll mark that as a unanimous yes. Number 3, the variance will be consistent with the comprehensive plan, yes or no?
Madam Chair, yes. Goal 6, Objective 1, provide a diversity of housing prices and styles meeting the needs of residents of different ages, incomes, and lifestyles.
All right, we have a yes for number 3. Is anyone opposed to yes? Then I will mark that as unanimous yes. Number 4, the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner, yes or no?
Mike Hain, I believe yes, it's reasonable to want to have a proper entryway into your house.
Okay.
So we have a yes for number 4. Is there anyone that disagrees with yes for number 4? Hearing none, I will mark it as a unanimous yes. Number 5, the plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner.
Dennis Gregory, the location of the house on that lot is unique to the property, and so the addition, also is not created by the landowner. Let me say that a little bit differently. Since the house is located there already, the landowner cannot change it.
I would agree with that and also add that since this is the purpose of this addition is to make entry into the house more accessible, you need to put the entry where the entry currently is. It's not feasible to put it anywhere else on the house. We have a yes on number 5, so is there anyone that is opposed to yes for number 5? Hearing none, I will make that a unanimous yes. Number 6, the variance if granted maintains the essential character of the locality, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Jill, adding an entrance to this home will not change the character of the locality. It will maintain it, yes.
All right, I have a yes for number 6. Anyone disagree with yes for 6? Hearing none, I will mark that as unanimous yes. Number 7, the need for the variance involves more than economic considerations, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Sean Blackburn.
Sean?
I'd say, yeah, it is more than economic considerations. There's an awful lot of considerations involved with it. It's just practicality.
Right, I have a yes for number 7. Does anyone disagree with yes for 7? I'm hearing none. I'll mark that as a unanimous yes. Now we'll be taking a note, or a vote, and just a reminder that this is only for the construction of the addition onto the dwelling. I'm open to a motion.
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, I would make a motion that we approve a variance for the applicant to construct an addition on a legal non-conforming residential dwelling ahead of the established building line and wholly within the shore impact zone. And yeah, that's no conditions.
And I'll second that for Dennis. This is Jacob Hawk.
Jake? Okay, we have a second by Jacob. So I'm doing a roll call vote. Jill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
And I will be a yes as well. Motion passes. And so we will move on to findings of fact for the garage addition. The proposal is to construct an accessory structure wholly within the shore impact zone of Grass Lake, classified as a natural environment. Number one, the proposed use is allowed in the zoning district in which the subject property is located. Yes or no?
Mike Kane, under R1 9.9.1, R1 does allow accessory structures to be constructed.
Thank you. Does anyone disagree with yes for number one?
Madam Chair, Sean Blackman, I do have to say that I'm not real happy with the way this just encroaches on the ordinary high water level. That's disturbing, but I realize that it is a practicality issue, and with the space he's dealing with here, it's almost a necessity.
So would you be a yes on number one then?
I'm a yes, but I wanted my concerns to be noted.
Yes, thank you. We will add that to the record. So for number one, I have 2 yeses. Is there anyone that disagrees with what's been said for number one? And with a yes vote for number one? Hearing none, I'll mark that as a unanimous yes. Number 2, the variance will be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls and any related ordinances, yes or no?
Madam Chair, this is Jill DeLong. I do not believe it is in harmony with the general purposes. I understand a garage could be built here. A reasonable sized garage could be built here. I believe that the size of this garage, it encroaches upon the ordinary high water line, and the ordinance states that new buildings cannot be built partly in the impact zone.
All right. Is there anyone else that would wish to comment with number 2?
Just a clarification, Mike Kane.
Yes.
To me, when I look at this elevation map, it looks like it's at 997 and the 100-year flood line is at 996.1. So based on how I'm reading this, it is actually not in the 100-year flood zone. Is that correct?
I'll ask staff to comment on that.
Madam Chair, Member Hain, a small portion of the garage will be within the 100-year flood fringe. Now, once again, the requirement of the construction site permit is that it's going to meet the low floor of the structure has to meet the required flood protection elevation. And so, that's just a requirement that goes along with the permitting process.
So it will not be in the flood zone if it's constructed?
It will still be within the flood hazard area, but it will be constructed to an elevation that is
above
deemed
that.
safe. Yeah.
Right. All right. So I will say yes, because it's being built in accordance to how it's required to be built, and the size is built in accordance with the the standards that we have.
Madam Chair? Dave Gamrod, Madam Chair.
Oh, yes, Dave, go ahead.
Okay. I have a question for staff. If they build that, aren't they going to have to put a lot of fill to give it natural sloping into the basin? You know, to slope away from that ground, or are they going to put a retaining wall, or what are they going to do for ground to get the ground to come up to a thing? What is the plan?
That might be a good question for the contractor that's with us.
Yeah, the garage we built on a floating slab, which is typically 18-inch, all deep edge around it, and the elevation there. I don't know if you visited the site or not, but when we took our shot off of there, we'll be plenty above the water mark. And if we had to, we could put it on a foundation, raise it up higher that way, but that would be awesome.
And I think the question had something to do with, adding a lot of fill in order to make the access angle or level driving into the garage. How much fill is going to have to be added in order to make it usable? If I understood the question.
Yeah. How much?
Okay, I thought you meant around the sides. How about that? No, the front shouldn't be. You'd probably be looking at a foot of fill on the front.
Okay, what about the lake side? Fill towards the lake side.
Lake side would be the east side. There shouldn't be much. There'll be some fill there, but you probably what, 16 inches.
16 inches?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you'll have to slope that out.
Right.
Does the roof line dump the water on that side, or does it dump it on?
It would dump it on the north side and the south side.
North side and south side.
Just pick my diagram.
Okay, yep. Okay, but if they dump a lot of water even on the north side, that'll have to come around, or will it go straight down towards
Right.
the lake?
Yeah, look,
I'm concerned with runoff and adding a lot of dirt to the basin. You know, if the thing is got to be shifted for a little bit, or what? You know, that's my question.
The plan I had submitted, I don't know if anybody's got that handy or not, but the water does come to the front of the garage and to the rear. The gable is on the north and
yep, so it does look like it would go towards the lake directly.
we come in from the driveway will be even. The side toward the existing garage will be gable end.
Okay.
Right, Jill was right when she says that it is dumping off the backside or the lake side as well.
I'll refer a question to the staff. When you did the site visit, were there any concerns about water runoff and the topography there?
Madam Chair, I have not been to the site. I wasn't able to view the location of the proposed structure.
Okay, thank you. All right, number 2, since there was quite a bit of discussion, I think we'll do a roll call on number 2. So number 2, again, is the variance will be in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the official controls and any related ordinances, yes or no. I have a no from Jill and a yes from Mike. So I'll do the roll call on the remaining members. Dennis?
I would vote yes, and I would add a comment that the garage is the same distance from the lake that the addition on the house is.
Okay, thank you for that added comment. Dave?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'll be a no.
All right. Jake?
Yes.
Sean?
No.
I'm going to say yes because of the reason that even though it is in the high water level, that it will be elevated to a safe level. Number 3, so number 2 is 4 yeses and 3 noes. Number 3, the variance will be consistent with the comprehensive plan, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Jill DeLong, I'm going to say no for the natural resources goal 5. Objective 2, minimize impacts to water quality from development through use of low impact development techniques, improved management of buffers and national resources in shoreland areas, and improved stormwater management in existing developed areas.
All right. We have 1 no. Is there anyone that disagrees with no?
Madam Chair, would it be possible to ask applicant whether they would be amenable to having a rain gutter and rain garden to control the runoff from that garage?
Okay,
wouldn't be any problem at all. Keep Shower talking. No, there wouldn't be any problem at all putting gutters on. In fact, I believe the homeowners who did check it out when I was priced out.
With that, I would vote that that will be a better situation than we currently have, and I think will provide some protection for the natural environment, and so I would vote yes.
I'm sorry, did I hear something about a runoff pond? Or no?
All right, could the contractor please comment? You commented on gutters, and I think also rain gardens were also mentioned, or some type of ponding. Would you want to comment on that, please?
Yes, we could install some type of a rock garden behind the garage. The slope goes that way. We'll have to get some design on one and have it okayed by the building official.
Okay. Since there was a lot of discussion on number 3, I think we'll go ahead and do a roll call on that one as well. So right now on number 3, I have yes from Dennis and no from Jill.
Madam Chair, are we going to include some kind of a condition about these rain retention ponds or anything?
Well, we certainly can at the time of the motion. And if you want to say yes or no, with the say, if you, for example, if you said, well, I will vote yes with the understanding that we would add this requirement, that would be an acceptable way to.
That's where I'm at. So, because we need to address that. There needs to be something done with that.
So, this is Sean speaking?
That's correct.
All right, so I will mark you down yes, and you with the understanding that there'd be some kind of mitigation stated as a requirement.
Absolutely, yes.
And Madam Chair, Dennis, that was also my yes as well.
All right.
Mike is the same with the 2 other comments.
All right, so Mike, you are voting yes with mitigation.
Yep.
All right, Dave?
That would be a no. I think it's congesting too much water between the two buildings. That could be a runoff problem. I don't know.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, Jake?
And I'll be a yes with the same conditions the others had agreed to.
And I will be a yes with those conditions. Number 4, the property owner proposes to use the property in a reasonable manner.
Mike Hayden, I believe it's reasonable for the property owner to have a accessory structure to the maximum size allowed for that property.
Right, we have a yes for number 4. Is there anyone that disagrees with yes for number 4?
Madam Chair, Jill DeLong, I think that building in a flood zone, especially with our current environmental state, where we are having those 100-year floods more often, is not a reasonable manner.
All right, we have 1 yes and 1 no. I'll do a roll call, and if you have any additional comments, go ahead and add them as I call your name for roll call. Dennis?
Yes.
Dave?
No.
Jake?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
And I will be a yes as well. Number 5, the plight of the landowner is due to circumstances unique to the property, not created by the landowner.
Madam Chair, Jill DeLong, I believe that it is, so I'm going to say no, because the landowner can still build a garage, just not to this size, that would not be in this flood fringe. So I believe it's because they want to build it of this size that it is circumstances that they created.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone that disagrees with a no for number 5?
Madam Chair, it might be late for a clarification, Dennis Gregory, but my understanding is that there's going to be fill put in there, so it technically won't be in the flood zone. Also, I had the sense earlier on that it was just barely touching that garage. And so, if the applicants move the garage slightly to the northeast, would that resolve a lot of the concern?
Well, what is the thought of board members? Would that resolve your concern or enable you to vote differently?
Madam Chair, Jill DeLong, if that is my main concern, is that it is within that floodplain. Even if it's only a little bit, it still is there. So if it was possible to do it so that it is not in the plain at all, then I would have no problem with this. But I also believe that then it might not even require a variance.
Madam Chair, Angie Berg.
Thank you. Go ahead, Angie.
I would just wanted to make a comment about the floodplain. So even if the structure is moved to the outside of the map floodplain, an elevation certificate is still going to be required to make sure that they're going to meet the elevation. So it doesn't, the mapped elevation, the mapped area of the floodplain is helpful for planning purposes, but structures in the shoreland area, unless they're 6 feet above the lake, require an elevation cert. And so I wouldn't get too hung up on the floodplain. That's a separate issue that we'll look at. Variance is granted, and by moving it, we're still going to require an elevation certification. They'll still have to build at the same elevation.
Okay, thank you. So let's review number 5. I believe I have 1 no for Jill. Is there anyone that disagrees with no for number 5? That would want to have yes for number 5?
Mike Hayden, I think for reasons as stated by staff that this will be above the floodplain and no matter if it's moved or not, it will still require that certification that they did bring it above the floodplain level. And I think due to the circumstances of how that lot is shaped, it's really the best location for that property to have the garage.
All right, and since we have one no and one yes on this item, I'll do a roll call. And if you have additional comments, please add them at that time. So Dennis?
Yes.
Dave?
I'll be a no. If, even if put on top of the ground, if the flood is up to that part, it's the water will sit underneath the building where it is, and probably just destabilize the ground underneath it because it's so wet. That's my concern.
All right.
I'm yes.
All right, Sean?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. Number 6, the variance, if granted, maintains the essential character of the locality, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Sean Blackburn, it certainly doesn't seem to be changing anything much.
And I would also add this probably improves the situation because it's moving the current garage off of the neighbor's property. Because right now the current garage is partially on the neighbor's property. Right, so we have 2 yeses for number 6. Is there anyone that disagrees with a yes for number 6? Okay, hearing none, I'll make that a unanimous yes. Number 7, the need for the variance involves more than economic considerations.
Madam Chair, Sean Blackburn, it seems to be, again, a measure of practicality. I don't like the way the elevation and the encroachment, but it seems to be the thing to do.
All right, so we have 1 yes for number 7. Is there anyone that disagrees with yes for number 7? Okay, hearing none, I'll mark that as a unanimous yes. All right, we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, Dennis Gregory, I would make a motion that we approve a variance for the applicant to construct an accessory structure that is partly within the shore impact zone with 2 conditions. The first condition is that they are required to receive from Linden Township a road right-of-way variance prior to the submittal of a construction site permit. And the second condition is that they have an engineered plan, runoff plan, to include rain gutters and a rain garden to handle the rain runoff.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Mike Kane, I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and we will do roll call on this. Jill?
Nay.
Dave?
Nay.
Jake?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
And I will be a yes. So we have a 2 to 5 vote of yes. The motion carries. Applicant, if you have any additional questions about your application or where you go from here, please address that to staff via phone during regular business hours. I'm looking for a motion to close or to adjourn the meeting.
I so move we adjourn the meeting.
I have a motion by Jacob to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? motion carries. The meeting is adjourned.
Great job, Bonnie.
Oh, thank you.
Good job, Barney. Good job, everybody.
Anything else from staff that we need to know about before we close out?
Shelley, Deb, is there anything from the tech end you want to talk about? I don't know if they're around.
Are we guessing that this method will probably continue into the future for the next meetings, or